There's always something about growing something new. Never grown eggplants before, but giving it a try this year. So we'll see. It's still little, but we'll see if it grows. Now it's time to read. Welcome to the family that reads a lot. We've been reading a lot. Now, all of those summertime activities that I said were coming, those started this week. So we were bouncing back and forth between camps and summer things and the pool. So the kids' reading may actually go down a little bit. Mine may actually go up a little bit because I actually got to sit at one of the camps today and read a book while they were busy. So it's way more than 5 books this week, but a lot of them are not ones that I'm actually gonna like go in detail about. So let's jump in. First one was a book for me, Kate Morton, The Lake House. I grabbed this on accident. I thought it was a different book. I'm not gonna read this right now. I read the synopsis of it and I may get it back out another day, but it's not the kind of mood that I'm in, and it's a really big book. So let's see, it's almost 500 pages. So to go into a 500-page book that isn't exactly what I want to read right now, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna take that back to the library. It was in my library hall the other day. Let's see, go through some other quick ones. So always start the video like this. I have an 11-year-old son who reads solidly middle grades, an 8-year-old daughter who reads middle grades / juvenile fiction, upper elementary, that kind of thing. They both read a ton. They read for fun, they read for school. We homeschool, so they are assigned books, but right now we're on summer break, so this is purely them reading whatever they want to read. So first one from my son is one of the Warriors books. This is Dawn of the Clans. There's tons of series and sub-series and side series and all the things. He's been through tons of these. This was just another one for him, and he pretty much just said it's like another Warriors book. So he enjoyed that, but it's kind of stuff that he's been through before. So the next one is actually for my daughter. This was The Castle in the Mist. I talked about this on one of my earlier videos because I pre-read it for her. This is by Amy Ephron. My daughter gave this 4 stars. She enjoyed it. She enjoyed the magical elements of it and things that I thought she would. The reason she really gave it 4 stars was she said that the ending was kind of not explained well. And I get that because she's just getting into those middle grade books. And this is the first book she's ever read that didn't wrap things up kind of in a pretty little bow for you. It left it open to your imagination as to what actually happens. Trying not to do any spoilers or anything, but that was a very different concept for her. So she enjoyed the book and everything that it was, but she's like, I want to know. And I'm like, well, you can't. Like, that's the idea, is how that was left on purpose. And so that was kind of a struggle for her. So that was different. She gave it 4 stars because she said she really did like the kids in it and all the things in it. And I think eventually she may come back around to this book at some point. And once she's a little older, I think she'll more so understand the ending. There's a couple more books in this series, but the setting changes. So they're not at the castle, and they're not with the people at the castle. And I asked her if she would be interested in reading those, and she's like, I don't know. So we'll have to see. She may not. But overall, she enjoyed the book for what it was. Next one, I guess let's get through all the things that are kind of quick, random things. So this is one that I got that, you know, I know everybody knows this book. It's James Herriot, All Creatures Great and Small. I had heard about what it was, you know, veterinary animals, all that kind of thing. That's all stuff that I enjoy. But as I got into reading it, I realized that this is almost too much like life for me, because at the moment, or not at the moment, but I grew up on a farm. We live on a farm. So we live the life that he's reading about. And it's kind of like, okay, I don't feel like reading about that right now. That's life. That's normal stuff. We're normally dealing with, you know, calves and animals and vets and all the things. So I'm not really calling this a DNF. I'm more calling this a I'll see you later kind of book, because I do think I'll come back around to it. I'm going to put it on my shelf. I read like the first 60 pages of it, and it's not a bad book. It's just not what I wanted to read about right now. So I think that I will come back to this one, just not in this moment. It's not what I'm wanting to read. So, okay, so those are all the books that are kind of like quick, normal synopsis. I'll jump back in to, okay, let's do the really good. So this, same thing. I know a lot of people have heard about this. This is Amari and the Knight Brothers. This is a middle grades book. I actually pre-read this for my daughter. She saw me watching a video about it. And so I went and grabbed it from the library because she's like, can I read this? I'm like, I don't know. One, it's kind of a hefty book. So it's 400 pages, but they're not like, it's not a huge physical book. Like this is the palm of my hand. It's not big. Oh, sorry. The author of this is B.B. Alston. But y'all, this is a great book. This was a fun read. Everybody, all the online reviews and everything say it's a cross between Men in Black, Harry Potter, stuff like that. And it's true. Now, I will say there was a scene in here that I'm like, okay, is that from Men in Black? Because it was pretty much the exact same scene when they're walking through the hallway in Men in Black. But there were a few things like that. But overall, this was a fun book. It was so fast paced. Like this is a book that I was not able to put down. I sat and read way too much for like 2 days in a row. I think I finished it in 2 days. But it was just so good. The characters were so well developed. They had personality. They had, I wouldn't say like, this isn't a big world building book, because it does all take place pretty much in this like supernatural school. So it's not like you get tons and tons of world building, but there was such character building. Like the characters, you just fell in love with them and you wanted to know what happens next. So definitely going to go ahead and purchase this because I do think this will be a reread for my daughter after she reads it the first time. My son saw me reading it and asked about it, so I know now he wants to read it. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and purchase it, and I may go ahead and purchase the second one. I don't know. I'm tempted to get it at the library tomorrow for myself because I'd like to know what happens. I'm hoping that the series continues as strong as this. Sometimes that first book, like honestly, that's where my heart is with Harry Potter. I love the first book. It was the best. And then after that, they kind of went downhill for me. Like not downhill, they were never bad, but they just didn't hold the magic of that first book. So hoping that the series with this one will continue. I know there's a new one coming out in August, I believe. So, but definitely recommending this for a middle grade book. It was so fun. And there wasn't a ton of questionable stuff. Like she did talk about living in low income apartments and what some prejudices were like and stuff like that, but that's what the real world is. So it didn't talk about anything in a way that would be shocking or anything else. And if you don't think that that's how the world is, it really is. None of the stuff in here was untrue. None of it, there was not a ton of language. Like there may have been a couple words in here, but nothing that would turn me off to this book. So that was definitely winner chicken dinner out of, I think, this haul for me. So the next one, I guess I'll jump into my book. This was one that I told y'all is a series that I've been reading since high school. It's Janet Evanovich. This is Dirty 30. It's the 30th book. I'll be honest, I read the first half of the book. I skimmed the last half of the book because it was literally all of the same books on repeat is where we've gotten with these books. I love the author. She did such a good job for so long, but I feel like the book itself, the series itself has just become repetitive. You've done 30 books with the same format. The girl is a bounty hunter, and still stinks at her job. Like, she still can't afford stuff. She still messes up cars. It's kind of the same thing on repeat. And as much as I love these books, I'm so glad that I got it at the library, because I would have been kind of disappointed if I'd paid full price for this book. I'll definitely keep reading. I mean, there's that. I want to know what's going to happen to the main character. She's kind of stuck in a love triangle that's been going on forever. At the end, there's a glimmer of hope that it might be ending, and within 10 pages, she puts you right back in the same triangle. So it is what it is. It's fun. I skimmed it. I flipped through it. It was good for what it was. I got to check in with the characters and stuff like that. There were a couple funny points, but it didn't make me laugh out loud like they used to. So I'd call this a book. Two more. So one that I was pre-reading for my son, and one that he read. So I'll start with the pre-read. So this was Jacqueline Woodson, Harbor Me. I'd seen this recommended a couple places, and I don't know, maybe I didn't pay attention, maybe I just saw the cover, maybe they didn't go in depth with it, but it's not what I expected. So it says 6 kids, 1 school year, a room to talk. I was thinking kind of Breakfast Clubby, like they're getting together, they're talking about things, it's gonna hit on some current events and stuff, but not, this was a miss for me. So I felt like this book tried to tackle every problem with society in 180 pages. We got immigration, we got school shootings, we got violence, we got I think some family violence in there. There was oh goodness gracious, what else? There was racial issues, there was, I think, like even depression, there was a parent being incarcerated. Like, in 6 kids, I think they packed in like 14 problems, and it was too much. It missed because you didn't get to know the characters enough to care about their problems. You just knew they all had problems, and they all had deep, heavy problems. And so it was just heavy, 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 heavy. Like, it wasn't anything that made you, there wasn't a lot of light. And I know that some of these problems are heavy and don't have immediate answers, but it didn't leave you on a hopeful note. And that, to me, is too heavy for middle grades. Now, for high school, late high school, maybe, but my other problem with this book was the kids in this book were to be in 5th and 6th grade. Now, kids who pick up books generally want to read about kids who are 2 to 3 years older than them. That's kind of the known fact. So a 5th grader wants to kind of read about what kids in junior high are doing. A 3rd grader kind of wants to read about a 5th grader. Middle school student kind of starts reading about high school students here and there. So the kids in here are only 5th and 6th grade. A high schooler is probably not going to connect with a 5th and 6th grade class. So I don't think that this would necessarily be for a high schooler, and I don't think they would necessarily connect with this the way that it was given. But this is not a book that I would give a 5th or 6th grader. There's just too much dark and not enough light in this book. And the one thing that really bugged me was there was a kid and he was drawing a gun and pretending to point it at another kid in the group. And it was left at that and never mentioned again. And that's not okay, because in the world we live in, kids are told every day, don't ignore this, don't pretend you didn't see it, don't, you need to report things like this. And there is a very good reason, like bad things happen. And for something like that to just be brushed under the rug in a sense and not be taken to teachers or something like that, that's not okay. That's very much not okay for me. So That may be a spoiler, but that's, I think, an important spoiler. So anyway, this book for me was a big miss. It not one I would recommend for a middle grader at all. And like I said, would kind of miss the mark with the other grades. So, okay, now on to happier notes. This was one that's been recommended to my son for years. Everybody's read it. Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. He loved this book. It lived up to all the hype. It lived up to all the recommendations. He read this book, and it's, I think, almost 600 pages. Or it's over 500 pages. He read this book in, I think, 2 days. 2 days, maybe 2.5. It was a weekend. It was a Sunday, so we were home not doing a whole lot, and he had a chance to sit and read, and he chose reading over everything that day. He said this was just such a good book. The characters were really likable. He definitely rated this a 5-star. He said that I asked him if there was anything questionable in here, and obviously this is a kid's review. I have not read this book. But he said that the only thing questionable that he saw was that she had to kind of lie to her parents and lie to her friends because she couldn't tell them all of her abilities. But that obviously is part of the story. So he said it wasn't like bad. And he said other than that, he didn't see anything negative in the book. He said that the characters, she did have some struggles. She had to move, I guess, to this land or whatever, and had to leave her family behind. So it kind of worked through some of that, but overall it was just, I think, the world building and the story, and there's some fun illustrations. But like I said, overall, totally lived up to the hype. He loved it. I think this was a good time for him to pick it up. During the school year, it would have taken him quite a bit longer to read this because he wouldn't have had time just to focus on this one book. So he is probably going to get the second one in the series tomorrow at the library. So definitely lived up to the hype. Okay, so that was a few more books than normal, but like I said, some of them were just quick overview kind of things, but we've definitely been reading this week. We will continue to read, and probably more so than normal, but maybe less so. I don't know. We're gonna have to see how the weeks go. But I got a couple hauls coming up, been doing some book buying, and gonna have some library books and things tomorrow. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun couple weeks. So from the family that reads a lot, go read a lot.